Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of Hiring and Inspiring. Today's guest is Caroline Pierre, who is an old friend of mine. We connected and met in Sydney back when I was living there. She is, well, her profession, she's worked in the fitness industry for a number of years. Like I said, she's an old friend. She has a really sort of great outlook on life, and her sort of attitude to everything, which I've always really admired. So I'm looking forward to catching up with her. It's been a while since we caught up, so I'm looking forward to, seeing what she's been up to, learning a little bit more about her, and some maybe ways I didn't always maybe knew, and just having a bit of a chat with her. So, Caroline, with that introduction, bonjour and
Bonjour.
welcome to the show. How are you? How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Yeah, going well, going well. So I think it's been maybe probably about a couple of years since
Hmm.
we maybe spoke or caught up. What's been happening? What's been happening in your life? I think I've seen a little bit on your Instagram. You've been traveling around
Yeah.
like, all kinds of regional parts of Australia. You've been all over the place. Tell me, what's been going on?
Yeah. A lot have been happening. So when you met me, I was in Sydney for like 4 years. I was studying. I'm French, and yeah, studying a lot. And with COVID, when COVID happened, a lot of opportunity opened with visa. So instead of being stuck in Sydney, I've been able to go on a different visa and go travel. So I bought my first car in 2021, end of 2021, and in our
Yeah.
first trip, I left Sydney to go down to the south coast of New South Wales, all the Victorian coast, up to South Australia. I was meant to go WA, but the border was still
Okay.
closed because of COVID. So I sticked around SA, worked for a little bit, then crossed to Queensland, worked a bit in
Okay.
Queensland. In between, I got back to Sydney, at one point, need a bit of money. Working here again. And then last year, I crossed back to Adelaide. So I stayed in SA for about
Yeah.
8 months. It was really nice. I loved it.
Mm.
And yeah, SA until March this year, so like 2 months ago, made myself back slowly to Sydney and went to travel to Tasmania as well. So
Amazing.
WA is still a plan, it's just not happening yet. It's a lot of
Uh,
organization on the car and yeah, so we'll see how that go.
so you've sort of been traveling slash
Yeah.
working. How's it all been going? Like you've been balancing that?
Yeah, so with the fitness industry, I'm lucky. Can I name a brand for a gym I'm working for or no? Yeah. So I'm working for
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
F45, and that's a
Yeah.
super good thing about it. I don't need any training anymore. It's all the same trainings everywhere. So I just arrive in a state or in a new city, basically knock at the door or
Mm.
send an email being like, "Hey, I've got experience. I'd love to work for you." And I'm able to work a bit everywhere like that. And I also do
Yeah.
hospitality. I still keep a bit of hospo on the side
Okay.
because it gives you extra hours. And same, everyone hires you. I've done hospo since I'm 18, so yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So you've obviously been on the road a little bit the last few years. Like, how have you found that? Like, how have you found that
It's
experience?
I found myself. I
Really?
left,
Okay.
yeah, I left because I'm not a city person. I'm from a little town in France in the middle of nowhere. And when you're young, you dream about the big city and was in Sydney for four
Yeah.
years and realized I had some unhealthy pattern in my life, coping mechanism and just anxiety, a lot of anxiety. So took
Okay.
my one quick trip one day and realized how grounded I am in nature. So that's why I've done this whole thing, and it's incredible. Like we as human, we belong in nature. We're still animals, and it just everything just calms down, especially a pace of life like a city like Melbourne or Sydney are very
Yeah.
full on. To survive in a city is so expensive. You really have to keep going. So I just, yeah, I found myself. It's sometimes a challenge because I'm a solo woman traveling, so I've got little safety tips and a little stress
Yeah.
now and then, but it's so rewarding. I just can't stop anymore. Like I'm about to leave. I think will be tomorrow, Tuesday, to come back to Queensland. So
Brilliant.
it's yeah,
You look, you've always sort of struck me as a bit of like that sort of free spirit. You know,
yeah,
you sort of going with the wind. and it's something like I said I've always admired about you. Like I'm always personally, I'm like I need to like right. I'm quite like structured in my routine. I need to like know what I'm
Mm,
doing. I need to know where what I'm doing for work or whatever. Otherwise, I just like freak out or like. And I know a lot of people are the
yeah,
same. You're always like I'm just going to go with it and see what
yeah,
happens and not
yeah.
not really stress too much about it. Like, is that something that you've always had? Like, have you always been that sort of free spirit? Would you
Yeah.
say?
Yes, when I turned 18, I went to London. Just I left like if I was going like for a week. I said bye mom, bye dad. I actually freaked out, but when I arrived there, and then I don't know, I love that excitement about having something new every day. I quickly get bored of places. Like I never stay very long, even if it's just about most of the time like a job or a
Mm.
place, a house or a share house. I quickly get bored and I need to move. I need that excitement. And yeah, I love living with the flow. It's a lot of detachment from the outcome where you kind of like, when you expect something to go one way, but it doesn't always go this way. That's what happened to me last week.
Yeah.
I was meant to leave last week, and as I'm literally getting out of Sydney, I'm just before the motorway, my car broke down. And I'm super grateful it happened in Sydney because I've been able to work a bit longer, get the car fixed, and I would have been stuck in the middle of nowhere. But well, you just change your plan. You just stay there for a little bit. It's a bit frustrating sometimes, but then yeah, you just go. And I
Mm.
do love that free spirit. I'm struggling to settle.
Yeah.
I'm the other way around. Like I'd love to settle. Part of me wants to because I want to build a home and having some
Yeah.
safety, but I just got itchy feet. And yeah, but I still have a routine. I still need, even if I travel, I still have, my little routine. My car is my home, my bed. Like when I don't have my car, I freak out. It's my baby.
Yeah.
And it's my routine. That's the only thing that will stay with me. And the rest, like every day, I've got a different scenery. So
What's the routine then? What's the one? What are the things that you, or wherever you are, you'll always do?
yeah, it's a very simple thing. Like you wake up in the morning, you're gonna get your little camper mates, your little stove, get the coffee
Yeah.
going, my, muesli with my milk. Just chill for a bit, depending obviously if I'm working, but if I'm not working when I'm proper traveling. And then, step by step, you make the bed, you make the car look like a car game because it kind of goes, things are on the bed. It's a Pajero. So during the day when I'm driving, everything's on the bed. And at night, it's the
Yeah.
opposite. Everything comes back on the seat. So then you reorganize everything. You check where you're going, what would be the next campground, or what would be the next hike or adventure if I've got Wi-Fi, if I've got reception. And then just, yeah,
Yeah.
it's those little, very simple things that keeps you still grounded. Yeah,
Yeah.
we need
Nice.
routine as human.
Yeah. Nice. So just going back to what you said earlier about you finding yourself a little bit.
Hmm.
One of the things you said, you really enjoyed being out in nature and out in the outdoors most of the time compared to say living in a big city. Like, what else did you maybe find out about yourself, or what else, or even that getting outside in nature? Where did that sort of come from? At what point on
Uh,
the sort of trip did you learn that?
so I actually just before, right in the middle of COVID, when was that? Yeah, beginning of 2021, I quickly booked a car, a van to go to Cairns, and I've met like-minded people. And
Mm.
yeah, and I remember meeting a couple that was so grounded. They were living on the road with their two kids, and this little thing where like it's doable. And then I just realized suddenly that that whole anxiety crowd, like those overthinking that happens all the time in the city, they just suddenly need to stop and it gets quiet. And
Yeah.
this is when you're able to sit and observe and being present in the moment. That's what's behind meditation, but not great to sticking with it. And
Mm.
but what also really got me started into that is when I studied yoga. I've never
Okay.
done yoga before, so when I just met you, I think, yeah, I was starting to do yoga. I remember that we had a few yoga sessions together.
I think you gave me a free yoga class. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
I didn't know
exactly.
what I was doing.
And it was such an open mind because I was expecting something as a personal trainer. I was, oh yeah, I'll study yoga because first, give me a visa, and second, it will
Yeah.
open my knowledges about as a trainer. You need mobility, and it was actually so much more than that. It was a very holistic approach, was really, really deep into the philosophy of yoga and the roots in Hinduism. And I was already a little bit in personal development, but that just opened my mind to all those things. And yeah,
Yeah.
and nature really allowed me to do all those practices, to do like mindfulness and being present and yoga and meditation and everything else. Yeah.
Mm. So that like that yoga that you've picked up in the last few years has been, I guess, part of your whole sort of journey with fitness, right? So you've
Yes.
your background is in the fitness industry. You've worked as a personal trainer for a long time. I know. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, but a few years back, you were more into like the weightlifting side of things in the gym. You've now progressed to the yoga. I think. Like, how would you describe your sort of, without a better like term, your fitness journey?
It's no, but it's exactly what you said. So that's my brain. I'm a bit neurodivergent, and my brain works in a
Yeah.
specific way where I do it's basically ADHD. I go one hyper focus at the time. So
Okay. Yeah.
I'm still in fitness. Like I still love anything that move the body, but yeah, something failed. Anyway, yeah, when I was really into lifting heavy and everything, but it didn't always feel right with me. Like I love the fact that you build muscles and full body
Mm.
awareness and full body control, but it's there's not much mindfulness behind it. So when I started yoga, yes, this is where you realize you don't actually need to lift heavy pieces of metal to have a strong body
Yeah.
and have a full control. And and so now I'm more and more trying to find myself, finding my way into something a bit more flowy, like these animal flows and any type of mobility, and then put them
Okay.
together. So resistance training is still very important to build that strength, but I would actually love to find one day my proper way in my own business and opening
Okay.
potentially my own gym of something very flowy and still very much resistance and mobility based. But yeah, I'm a bit.
So when you started in the gym, when you were, back lifting weights, why were you doing that? Where did that sort of, how did
Um,
that sort of kick things off?
I started when I was 18. First breakup, classic.
Yeah.
In a gym, we're all here for a reason, and we all have our backstory. You want to build like
Yeah.
to be 100% honest.
Mm.
I was a shy kid, and it was hard for me, being younger, to be out there. I've been bullied and everything. I'm really open. There's no problem about that. And so when I found the gym when I was 18, I started putting on muscles. You're like, oh, people don't mess with me
Mm.
anymore. Like I look strong, I feel
Okay.
strong.
Yeah.
It's you
Yeah.
build I build an armor, but I
Mm.
kept going with it, which now I'm really aware of it, and I'm not in the same mindset I used to be before. It was like being big, and
Mm.
now I found that balance exactly with yoga and having more mobility and more body control over just mass and
Mm.
heavy. Yeah.
Would you say like your fitness journey, because this is how I've developed mine over the years, like you start when you're in the gym, like you're almost, so you're saying, you tried to put on the muscles, you tried to do that to, intimidate other people or impress
Yeah.
other people, right? To look good for other people, right? So that's like when I first started lifting weights in the gym, it was for like, I want to look good for like, impress girls or like, show off the guys. Like it was for other people.
Yeah.
And then over the years, like I actually just stopped really caring about that. And it was more like I just started training for myself, like how
Yeah.
to make, I want to train to make myself feel good. Is that how it
Yes.
sounds like maybe yours like mindset's progressed with it?
Exactly. It's all like now it's how it feels good for me. Exactly as I said when I was lifting heavy and it was just there was no mindfulness behind it. It was just like I lift because I
Mm,
want to lift, I'm a lift. Now it's I do what I like. I do what feels good for me. And it's exactly this. And it's obviously for the mental health. And it is
mm,
for me, I am very into I want to have full body. I want full body control and being able to do any movement I'd like to do in my life. Like especially when we grow older, mobility very, get worse and worse. And my
Yeah.
parents, especially my mom, has arthritis, and so I've seen her over the years getting with like more stiff. And so yeah, now it's all about me,
Mm.
and that's exactly the same with being in nature, finding myself and not
Mm.
being apologetic about it anymore, and putting myself first instead of doing
Mm.
it for the other or in a protective way. Mm. But that's why in the gym we're all there for a reason. We all have our little demon
Mm.
and on the shoulders. And but yeah, it is coming back
Yeah.
inward and coming back to ourselves. Yeah.
So with the like the yoga and the mobility stuff, like I've seen you in action do that, and like you're pulling out some outrageous poses that like I'm just like, like there's no way I can do that, or someone imagine someone obviously isn't going to do that, but say someone wanting to start and improve their mobility and or their flexibility, whatever. How would they go about it? Like, what would you recommend? Like for me, say like I do a bit of stretching like at the end of the day, just but more for like recovery.
Yeah.
I'm seeing small improvements, but like I wouldn't say I'm an expert. How would you say someone who wants to improve their mobility, how would they do it?
Like exactly like resistance training, you have to put the time and the effort into it. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen with, as you said, little improvement. If you do it at the end of the day for recovery, you realize, I don't know, your hammies, your hamstrings are a bit better, but you have to put
Mm.
time and attention. There's two different type of stretches as well. There's static and dynamic, and I'm playing with it. Maybe at least once a week, really having a session of just a session of playing with the movement, playing with the joint, and you, especially when you start realizing that's a big thing about yoga, where we basically say to breathe into it and to release the muscles. It's consciously, you really have to tune inside and to realize that, oh, okay, if I really take a deep, nice breath in that seated forward fold, I might slowly realize like my head gets closer to my knees.
Mm.
And just like everything else, yeah, put time into it, and then
Yeah.
not forcing anything. I've hurt myself like that before because I'm a bit hypo, and you kind of want to go deep in a stretch, and then you bounce, and then that you do that little tear the muscle,
Yeah.
or
Okay.
yeah, it get like everything else, like lifting. If you rush and you don't engage
Yeah.
your core, but you switch, you're back, and but yeah, taking time slowly into it, but starting it with
Yeah.
recovery at the end is already a good start. It's not many person, especially not many men doing it. It's all
Mm.
about like the pump,
Yeah.
but then you can't move. So
Yeah, like
yeah,
stretching's for girls kind of thing. Like that whole mentality. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
kind of sucks really.
But
Yeah.
it's
What
changing. It's
about?
changing.
um,
It's changing. It's good
Is
to
it
see.
okay?
Yeah, slowly.
Mm. What about professionally, like your like work? You're doing F45 training. I think you were looking at doing some like yoga training and coaching as well. Like, how's that progressed? What's sort
Um,
of
so the thing is, when I met you, I was still finishing my diploma in yoga teaching, and the idea
yeah.
was to get slowly into it, to maybe like found a yoga studio. But because just as I finished my yoga qualification, which was June 2021, Sydney go into that 3 months lockdown.
Mm.
So it did not happen, obviously, because everything closed
Mm.
down. And this is when I just left in November for my trip. So
Yeah.
actually,
Okay.
never really went into straight away yoga teaching, but I need to push myself because I am not
Okay.
always the most confident person, and I just need to go for it. Give me a little kick and be like, okay, let's go, just do it.
Yeah.
But I still do it with F45. Not every Sunday because it depends where I work and how I work. But like
Yeah.
yesterday, on Saturday, I just did a yoga session. So it's great. It gives me more confidence to see that I'm good at it, not bad at it. It's all about that
Mm.
little voice in your head. This is what I mean when they
Yeah.
hit, like going in a bush and heal. This is what I'm working on, of knowing
Yeah.
my worth, and then I'll be able to do it. But yeah, same because of COVID, I had to slowly like not give up, but I couldn't work full time in gyms anymore because my visa, COVID visa, one of the condition was to work in the critical sectors, and the fitness industry was not a critical sector. So I had to come back in something
Right.
like agriculture, nursing, tourism, hospitality. So that's why I went back to hospitality, but I could still do a bit of gym, but my main job was meant to be critical. So
Mm.
that's why everything kind of slowed down a bit, and now I'm
Mm.
going back more into it, and I'm really enjoying myself.
And you're still enjoying the F45 training?
I do. I do. It's
Yeah.
that this is exactly a bit of issue for me at the moment because I was just meant to be in Sydney for 2 weeks, time to do some
Mm.
work on the car. Contacted the manager of the studio I used to work, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm happy to have you back." But then, as I said, car broke down, so I stayed a bit longer, and I'm actually absolutely enjoying it. It's a great
Yeah.
community. It's a lot of fun. I'm having so much fun. I'm just bouncing, dancing around, being my weird self, and
Yeah.
which I used to think was very awkward, but people love it. It's good energy, and that raises
Yeah.
everyone else, and it feels good to know you're good at something. And
Yeah.
so I'm a
No,
bit
definitely.
between like, want to stay, keep working with them, or yeah,
Yeah.
hit the road.
Just on that personality, right? Or yourself, you talk about, and I've seen you in action, like that high energy,
Yeah,
loud, like, when you're leading those classes, like that's, it kind of looks like that's you and your element. And I feel
yeah.
like, people might think that's you like that all the time, but I know you, and I know you're not always like that. You're a little bit introverted at
Yeah,
times. You like your own company.
yeah.
Like, is that fair, by the way? Like, is that
It
true?
is.
Like,
It is 100% true.
yeah.
I'm like a weird intro extrovert when the people at work, when I tell them that I'm actually an introvert, no one believes me because I I give so much. I give like 100% of myself at work when I coach, and it's not fake at all. It's just being me. And but that's
Mm,
the thing is that once that is done, I need me quiet time recharging because my social batteries are out. So you
yeah.
will rarely see me clubbing or
Mm,
in loud environment. So that's the funny thing is that I can F45 is very loud. Coaching is loud between my own voice and the music.
yeah. Yeah.
But once that is it, I'm like, oh, I'm very sensitive to noises, and it has to be very quiet. And yeah, you described it very well. It's exactly this. And as I get older, it's more and more. I just so enjoy my me time,
That
and
was Yeah, that was my next question. Like that social battery, like everyone has it, right? Bigger or smaller. Like I don't know, we're similar ages. Like I found mine is getting like
yeah,
smaller and smaller. Like if
oh
I'm
yeah,
out for like a few hours, like I was out for like a few hours last night, having a few beers, and like maybe out for 3 hours, I was like, right, that's enough.
yeah,
Like I just wanted to go home. Like I don't know, but then when I was younger, like that social battery seemed like it was never ending.
yeah.
Is that something that you found that it's just got shorter as you get a bit older?
Yeah, 100% same. I was just having a conversation with my best friend yesterday. She's a bit the same.
Yeah.
It's so I can't tell if it's our age, just turned 30, or if it's actually, COVID. I got a feeling COVID, the whole world pandemic thing affected it because we all went home
Mm,
and it was great. I loved it. I loved being
yeah.
home and not having to go out and just, chill at home with a glass of wine. What else? And
Mm,
I'm really wondering if it's not like a world thing now of all of us. But yeah,
good point.
no,
Yeah.
social battery, same, exactly. I used to go clubbing all night, every single weekend when I was between 18 and I don't know, 22. And I still enjoy now and then to go, to a pub and have a few beer like you might have done
Mm.
yesterday. But I need mental preparation for it. I'm like, okay, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
If at one point I feel drained, I'm just gonna go home. The same, I don't
Yeah.
drink anymore because I don't want to reach that point where I'm like, nah, I just want to go home. Just want to recharge and being like quiet under my blanket. Uh,
No, I do feel you at times. You mentioned about, you turned 30, right? Well, you've recently turned 30. I know it was a few months
yeah,
ago.
a month ago, 1 month.
Okay, I'm sorry, 1 month ago. Look, it's something that's on my mind as well because I turned 30 in a few months. How do you sort of feel about turning 30? Like how do you feel about, I don't know, the next decade, your 30s in general?
Um, it was interesting. I was not scared about it at all because mentally I was already there. I'm an old soul. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
as I just said, I like to be alone. I like to be on my own. I really enjoy just, I don't know, having like cooking on my own and doing those things. And all my friends are also older. I've been surrounded. I just got big brothers. Like everyone, always been older than me most of the time. And so I was already mentally there. And I'm actually, I was excited because I think 30s is the new 20s. You know yourself so much better in your 20s. Like, okay, we're known as, we can't go out as much and things like
Mm,
that, but we enjoy something else. And as I said, I'm knowing myself so much better, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be nice. And I
mm.
know as a woman, they tend to put, a thing of like once you pass 30, you kind of obsolete. Oh, no, this is not gonna happen. I'm not gonna let society push that on me. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And no, it's just gonna be fun because I finally know what I want and what I like. And yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
30s
I
are
know what you
good.
mean. Like
Yeah.
your 20s, you're figuring stuff out. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
don't really you're figuring you're trying to like learn who you are,
Yeah.
and then by the time you turn 30, hopefully you kind of know
Yeah. Kind
what
of.
you like and what
That is better.
you don't. Well, you mentioned what you kind of want to go for what you want. Like, what do you want? Like, what do you think the next? I know this is a tough question to ask or answer.
Oof.
So, what does the future hold for you? Like, what do you think
That
your 30s has in
that
store?
is a thing of mine. This is one of my issue where I can't project myself in the future. As I said, I just,
Mm,
go with the flow. But it also these pros is good, just like, yeah, let's live life. Let life take me wherever it wants. But at the same time, like I still don't know if I want to stay in Australia. I absolutely love Australia. And
mm,
I've been here for 6 years and I'm still on temporary visa. I'm not resident, and
mm,
because I'm petrified of taking a commitment,
mm.
which that's why like there's still things to learn, and I know that I'd like a bit more stability, like yes, still traveling, but potentially having a business that will allow me to travel, or I am unsure. I am unsure. Like,
Yeah.
would it be based in France and then something allow me to travel around the world and often come back to Australia, or base myself in Australia, work myself like towards residency, especially now that I left Sydney. It's easier. It's
Mm,
easier to get through sponsorship and all those things. They need people, especially I think at the moment it's an open door. Australia need
yeah.
people, and it would be a good time to jump on and try to get sponsored. But yeah, this is the story of my life. I'm very indecisive. I can't take decisions. It's horrible.
So obviously, like, doesn't sound like you've got like a 5 year plan
Nah,
or like a 10 year plan,
nah.
which obviously most people don't. Like,
Uh,
you obviously you kind of thinking like how far ahead do you think? Are you like right? I'm just thinking because I'm maybe like I try and maybe plan the next year. That's what I maybe think about. Like how far ahead do you think?
I would say like 6 months max.
Yeah.
Max, really max. Like right now, I'm about to leave for Queensland. And as I said, I really enjoy what I'm doing in Sydney. So I'm kind of like, okay, I give myself 1 month. I go to Queensland. If I didn't find a job that I really love, and I would like to actually find something different this time, try to work in nature because I love nature. But
Okay.
it's a bit of a tough thing to start because most of the time it's volunteering. So I'd love to maybe, yep, come back, find a job. I still stay around cities, so like Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, maybe yeah, F45, maybe
Mm,
hospitality and volunteer on the side. And yeah, so if within a month I'm not, you know, really enjoying the work I'm doing, and or maybe financially struggling because it is a thing, then I might yeah
mm.
come back in Sydney and then work until the end of my current visa. And same at the moment, I'm waiting for end of June because it will be a big change in all visas. So I cannot plan
Okay.
anything until the end of June, and we'll see how that goes from there. Mm.
Yeah, gotcha. Something else I'm keen to ask you about. We're quite similar in terms of like we're the same age. We've
Yeah,
both been in Australia for 6 years, both expats from Europe. Um, how do you? Because it's something I'm always thinking about. How do you sort of think about your old life? So without using a better term, your old life, in France. So how do you sort of what do you feel about your kind of that time? The fact that
yeah.
you've maybe at 24 years old moved to the other side of the world, and suddenly, for me, it was like I moved, and then suddenly I just didn't see anyone from my old life,
Mhm.
and I just I was completely starting again, and I've now got this new life, which people from my old life don't really know about or understand at times. How do you? What are your thoughts on that?
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yeah, it's very. I had a realization one day. I met a Swiss girl while I was traveling in Queensland. This is what I love about travel. You meet amazing people, and
Yeah.
she's French Swiss, and she was telling me she realized she ran away from Switzerland. She ran away from her problem
Mm.
of like growing up as a teenager, and it made me think. And I'm like, woohoo! I think I've done the same, and I
What
really
am I running from? Kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. What am I running from?
Yeah.
And I was even like cutting because at least you have to have the same language. For me, it was obviously two different languages. And I
Yeah.
realized that I think in English, I write in English, I read in English, I dream in English. And then just once in a while, I will, call family and text friends, and it would be all Australia. And so I'm working on that of being like, okay, it's still my roots, it's still who I am, and I'm French. I'm still not a resident or
Mm.
anything, and I will always be. But yeah,
Mm.
it made a huge cut. And exactly as you said, my friends in France and my friends here, they don't really know about each other. They don't really know what's happening. I post a lot on Instagram for that reason, to like having everyone, my family as
Yeah.
well, to see what's happening. But yeah, and I was such a different person. Such a different person. I was working in a fast food for 4 years. I was a manager of a Subway in my
Yeah.
hometown, where I love my little town, but it can be quite toxic. Everyone knows each other, and this is also why I left. This is what I also ran away from, and it is very interesting. I love going home. Every time I go home, I'm like, ooh, I should stay. I shouldn't come back to Australia. And then I come back to Australia, and I'm like, oh my God, I love it. And then I don't want to come back home. It's tough, but it is exactly as you said. It's really like two different lives. Yeah.
So what's changed? How have you changed? Say the person you are now compared to 6 years ago when you left France.
Um, yeah, I finally accepted myself, as you saw me like being hypo and dancing and coaching and be like
Mm.
all bubbly. I never
Yeah.
realized I was like that in France. I was not, because I don't know, I was just trying to survive the world, literally. It was, especially
Yeah.
everyone knew me. As I said, I was bullied at school, and that sticks with you in a little town. People know you're like, oh, you're the
Mm.
girl that was bullied at school. So it was just about like survive, keep your head down, don't bother anyone, and just go through it. And now I'm only finally getting into like, nah, this is my life, and I do what I want. And like, I like who I am. I love who I am. I love what I'm doing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you struggle with like this is something find like obviously when you go to maybe catch up with someone from the past, back in your life, your previous life in France, they still maybe think of you as that person that they knew from that, and
No,
then you've changed, right?
yes and no. At first, yes. It happened just with my family, just with my mom.
Mm.
My when I left for my first trip 2 years ago, it was in COVID, so I
Mm.
haven't seen them for 2.5 years because of COVID. And I had a few people, I met a few, very open-minded, grounded people, hippie, if you want to say it.
Okay,
And
yeah.
they would be like, you're going to come home and it's going to be tough because everyone is expecting that person they knew before. And so it's going to be challenging. And it's exactly what happened. It got a bit complicated with my mom because suddenly, like, what do you want to, what do you mean you do the work? What did I do wrong? And I'm like, you didn't do anything
Yeah.
wrong, mom. You did your best. You did absolutely did your best. But this is my journey. And that triggers people. That triggers some people. But most of the time, I never had too many friends. I've got good friends, so they understand it. They understand it. Yeah. They
Yeah.
see they see the evolution, and they see it's for a good thing. So yeah,
It goes both ways as well sometimes. Like you kind of go back and you kind of think,
nothing
your
has
friends have
changed.
just been doing this. They've been doing the same. Obviously, sometimes you
Uh,
kind of think nothing's changed, but like obviously you can't expect them to just have stay still doing what they've been
hmm,
doing for the last 6 years. And like, no, of course not. Like they've been making different friends. They've been
yeah.
going out and doing
Um,
stuff, and their lives have changed as well. So yeah, it's just I don't know, just part of this.
but
It's just a weird thing sometimes, isn't it? This expat life.
it still is, because there is some stuff that don't change. So like as I said, me for a little town, you just see those people, they're still in the relationship they were. Like, perfect.
Mm.
No, no judgment or anything. They're still in a relationship, but then now they're getting married, and then now they're getting a baby. And then I'm the one who's just like da 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 da, da going around, and when are
Yeah,
you coming back? When are you settling? I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'm going to Tasmania for a few weeks. Like,
yeah, what a life.
so no, no, I love it. So look, I've got maybe one final question to hit you with, and it's a question I tend to wrap these shows up with. I'm really interested to know your answer to this. So the question is around, or the topic's around, the idea of success in life, and you can
Oof.
take this any which way you like, professional, personal, whatever. To Caroline Pierre, what does, I guess, success look
That's
like to
that's
you?
a hard one. We're going very philosophical. Um, I don't know. So that's the thing. I'm really trying to get out of it. And I think it's a huge pressure in big city like Sydney and Melbourne of like success will be like buy a house and build a family and get married. And then I see how stressful that is. And same, full respect, but for me, like I'll be more successful if I found myself and I don't really care if I own a house one day. At the moment I'm happy. Same. I don't
Mm,
think I want kids. This is still something I'm a bit like, and for me the success will just be to find like finding our thing, what we want to do, not following what society tells you to do. And
yeah.
yeah, it can be very you got me on that question. It's
It's just it's something that's interesting because like
it is.
I'm always thinking about it because like the first thing you mentioned, the first thing you went to was a house and kids, right?
Mm.
But why is that like the go-to of what success looks
Because
like?
society tells you to, because
Mm,
because everyone else, and I understand if you like you were born or grew up in city like Melbourne or Sydney, it's hardcore. Like when you see, especially now, the prices of housing, like all my friends are really struggling. It's all everyone has the same battle of having that income to then having that mortgage and then pay off that mortgage.
mm,
And I wanted it. Still a part of me want to. You want to have a place you call home
mm.
and build something, potentially a family, or even if it's like myself and three cats. But it's it's just like yeah. So it can be very stressful. So everyone will have the
Mm,
idea of success, and I know that I would like to find success in my career, to be able to build my thing. Like I love working for companies and everything, but
yeah.
it would be such an achievement of being like, yeah, I've put my skills together, because my work is about skills and
Mm,
helping people and being able to do this, and having people that are willing to pay you for it, and then building your own
mm,
thing, or that would be for me a pretty good success. And being able to heal, because we all
mm,
have our traumas, we all went to different journey, and some are more aware than others. And we're never going to be perfect. No one is. I'm never going to be like, oh, that's it, no
mm,
trauma. No, it's just step by step overcoming, like recognizing a pattern, and then being able to look at it and maybe heal it and then move through it. And for me, that will be
mm.
success. Yeah.
Love it. What an answer. Great stuff. Ca- Caroline Pierre, thank you very much for for that answers and everything you
Thanks,
shared
Joe.
to me today and the conversation. Really enjoyed that. Appreciate you as a friend. Appreciate everything you're doing. And yeah, keep it up.
Thanks, mate.
Any final thoughts? Any final words?
I was really open. That's all I can just say. Wow, I
I love it.
overshare. I can say that.
No, that's all
Yeah,
good. That's all good.
no, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for inviting me. If it's really good. I always think I'm doing my own little life. I still have, the idea that I'm that little shy girl, and it feels amazing when you got a friend that is like, okay, I want to hear your journey and what's happening. It feels amazing. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no worries. Great to chat and great to catch up. Stay
Yeah,
in touch.
thanks, Joe.